Good morning everybody, we are at the BOOT 2024 boat show. I'm going to bring you the world premiere of the brand new 2024 Dufour 44. Let's get into it, shall we? I'm going to start at the Transom. The optional version that is on display here at BOOT Dusseldorf is what they call the easy version. So it's 3 cabins, 2 heads, forward galley. Overall length is 13.91 meters and whole length 13.10 with a maximum beam of 4.5 meters. All the rest of the information will come up as we go through and do the talk. As you can see, signature of Dufour, you have a really large drop down transom bathing platform, and your ladder, bathing ladder, you have a really nice section here to be able to pop it into, depending on how you've optioned it out. Space there for a life raft or a very small tender if you've let all the air out. But there is an option to have obviously dinghy davits, which make it a lot easier if you're cruising. Both starboard and port you have access steps, where before on previous ones they would just be either on the port side or on the starboard side, depending on how you've optioned it out. And this back section on the central seat in the cockpit, you have a grill and a sink, which is pretty cool. Hot and cold water. I think it's worth ticking the box, you know. That's just my opinion. So we'll come up on the starboard side. You'll see you have your shower, throttle control, and your Volvo Penta rev counter, engine hours and so on, and your start stop. Below the starboard helm is your gas locker, so it's nice and handy, and there is a drain down there in case there's any issues. And to the business end, we had a quick look at this system on the 530. Obviously you have your bow and stern thrusters, and if you just basically want to take your boat in sideways, maneuver it sideways, obviously very, very simple. B&G Zeus 12-inch chart plotter and autopilot. Once again, your anchor windlass controls and chain counter just here. There are a few of us on the boat, so I'm going to try and follow other people around. If I go too far, you have your emergency rudder point here, and then centrally you have access, which I think is pretty handy, to steering quadrants and all that sort of stuff. Somebody mentioned on a video before that so here you go, here's your steering, and then there's your rudder post. So single rudder. I know a lot of you prefer single rudder. It's actually an option with most boat manufacturers nowadays to have the fiberglass. I think it was pointed out on the XS. The option obviously wasn't ticked on this one, and that's why you can see the fiberglass there. Being that it's below the water line, that's not balsa. And then coming over to the port helm, I'm just going to go down the steps a second. You have, once again, access down here. So, good place to be able to chuck your spare fenders and so on, if you wish. Right. Port helm. I should have pointed this out. I'll get told off that I didn't. Jeffer steering, so you know she's going to have a really good feel on the helm. Most Dufours are actually pretty speedy through the water as production boats go. I think they're one of the better ones on the market. Compass, and once again the B&G Zeus chart plotter, and if you wanted to, you could obviously have autopilot on here and so on, but being Most of it, if you actually have a look around B&G, you can do your autopilot from, depending on what package you have, from your chart plotter anyway, so you know, it's no big deal. Just in front of your helm pedestals, both port and starboard, there is a really handy and a very big tail end bin, and this boat's been fitted out with both port and starboard Lumar electric self-tailing winches. You've got your electric controls there, and that is mirrored on the starboard side. And this owner picked the teak deck. Obviously there are options to have teak, flexi teak, or just plain white fiberglass. It's entirely up to you. It's your choice and your package, whatever you're buying. And there you have another Lumar 50 self-tailing winch, and a small bank of clutches for your German main sheet system. Both port and starboard you have access to pontoons or marina walls, whatever, and obviously your spray hood. So you'd have your spray hood coming around here. There'll be grab handles. When I've seen on the pictures, obviously you have handles here coming forward, and then you can just come straight to your grab handles along the deck. I know it's a 44-foot boat, but it feels almost like a 50 or an older 50. So much space. You have small Genoa tracks or Jenica tracks either side. Outboard shrouds, so plenty of walk space forward. And then this one has been optioned out with the self-tacking jib. I'll leave a link for the 530 that we looked around, so you can actually see. Obviously it'd be much bigger on that boat, but that didn't have the self-tacker on it, so I'll leave a link there so you can have a look around that, and this will give you an idea of what it's like. And then those big forward skylights again, and flash hatches. Dufour are upping their game, and it shows. So, Lumar anchor windlass, single barrel roller. Obviously you're, depending on what you've chosen, most likely a Furlex, Genoa furler or jib furler, and then your Code D spinnaker, Jenica, because the French love to use Jenicas, and why not? It's a really versatile sail. Point forward there. This mirrors the 530. Obviously it's not as large, but they've given you a really good sail lock. I think there's about 2.5 cubic meters of storage in here, so it's pretty good. They're giving you a nice large locker, and then forward you'll see that watertight hatch. That takes you into your chain locker, and there is room in there too for mooring lines and so on if you wish. And there is your hand remote control for the windlass if it's necessary. Always good to have a backup. So if you imagine, obviously it's a German main sheet system, so everything's coming back, single line reefing, and then all your halyards, everything will be set up here. They come through, you have a deck management system, runs underneath the deck, and then to your bank of clutches. So above the companionway hatch you have a bank of 4 either side. Starboard side is a Lumar 50 manual self-tailing winch, and then over here on the port side you have an electric. Very large cockpit for at least 6 people for entertaining. Lovely space for those sundowners. This one's actually been optioned with both lazarettes. You can have it with just one lazarette, storage on the starboard side, so pretty much mirroring the 530. Cool box fridge. And then storage forward. If you be underneath the companionway, there is a really nice bin, so for all your tail ends when you finish sailing and so on, can all be tucked away and hidden away just before the companionway, and this one is set up you know, on gas struts, so it just pops up nicely. Coming down the companionway, it's quite a steep companionway. That'll be evident when we get inside, because they want to give you one level living with plenty of headroom in what is a 44-foot boat. What I'm going to do is actually start in the aft cabin. So aft ports, you have a very large double, and obviously you can see the difference. This one's optioned out with those lazarettes in the cockpit, so obviously you lose some headroom, but otherwise what is a very voluminous cabin. You have access into mechanical department here, as you can see up there, service fuse boards, and then engine access, so you can get to your filters and so on. Just down there, there is a massive port light window with privacy blinds, and then just to my right hand side there's a really nice locker storage. This is where I've been sitting. There is a cushion you can have for here, so when I was taking those first shots, that's where I was sitting. It's bigger than it looks, and then there's obviously access to cubby storage underneath. We're going to try and stay out of everybody's way. Port side, you have a separate shower, so a very, very large, there's a nice seat and a separate mini place to be putting in, you know, shampoo bottles and stuff like that. And some very good, you can find the catch. Obviously the second one is the same. Nice locker there. You have opening ventilation there, and here is your shower head. And then right opposite on the starboard side, you have your starboard aft cabin, which pretty much mirrors exactly the same as the port. So large port light window, you have ventilation into the cockpit there. This can be optioned either as a window as it is, or ventilation, and then there is an opening hatch up there, and depending on what option you choose, you can see the lines. You can actually have a VIP access into the heads, and another nice storage. There is a queue of people waiting to get on this boat now, so I'm going to get round pretty quickly. Jabsco freshwater electric flush. This is your day heads. It's also a wet heads. I'm not sure I would option it out that way, because obviously you've got a separate shower, or you can have that shower as a nav station, workstation, whatever, and ventilation up there. Starboard side, nice little two-seater settee. Fusion stereo is obviously your business end here, B&G, VHF, and your switchboard for lights, pumps, etc. And overhead lockers, so plenty of storage. Just to upset those that watch the boat videos that don't actually sail and complain that there is too much storage, this is for you guys. Just to say, you'll probably recognise this guy from Planet Sail. Everyone's looking around the boats. Yeah, I'm not going to ask you, especially this one. Well, it's brand new, isn't it? I'll get out your way as quick as I can. Right. Let me know in the comments below if you know who it is, and if you do, we'll send you a t-shirt or something like that. On the port side, a very unusually shaped saloon and dining area. It's actually, I think, pretty good, maximises the space. Obviously, with this sort of boat, you're either out on charter or enjoying the Solent for the weekend. Drop down tables, you can turn it into a big lounge area, and there is an option for a telly to come up on hydraulics. Really nice port light windows. and then obviously ventilation. Forward galley, we spoke about this on the 470 and the 530. You either love it or you hate it. I quite like it. It's in a very stable part of the boat, right in the middle. Twin stainless steel sink. Salt water, fresh water, hot and cold. Just below the sink you have storage, obviously, for bins. There's a nice little spot there. Yeah, you can come down if you want.
Okay, thanks.
Access to services and bilge underneath the sail, and obviously this is your mast compression post. And over on the starboard side, light switches, Corian worktop. Well, I'm rushing it through a bit, and we'll see this boat again at the Cannes Yachting Festival, or I think we might be at Southampton this year instead of La Rochelle. And a top loading fridge. And access down under here too, which is, you know, handy. Emergency gas shut off is underneath there, and you have access to a little bit more storage. And then the pièce de résistance for this 44 is your owner's suite. So there is a very large semi-island queen size berth. It's a big bed. If you notice forward, something I really quite like is there's a soft leather padded headboard and so on behind the pillows. I think it's just quite a nice touch. And you have reading lights both port and starboard with USB charging. 2 opening hatches for ventilation, and those are those skylight windows we saw up on deck. It's really nice. There's obviously storage underneath the bed. Shelving storage over here with some hangy bits on it. And underneath, behind the cabin door on the starboard side, you have a very large separate shower. Ventilation up above. I mean, if you're sort of 6'4", 6'5", there'd be enough headroom for you in the middle. So that's not too much of an issue. And then on the port side, a separate heads. So Jabsco electric flush, freshwater toilet, obviously, sink with some lockers there. Once again, this has another shower in it if you really want it, but you know, I don't think it's massively important. And then ventilation up there, and some should be hanging locker. Yeah, hanging locker on this side, on the port side. I know it was quick, it was rushed, so if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments below, and we'll get around this boat again, hopefully either at the Cannes Boat Show or La Rochelle, Southampton, depending on which one. It'd be really nice to meet some of you guys from the UK if we get to the Southampton Boat Show, so give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here. Thank you to all our subscribers that stick with us all the way through, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.